Hey guys, so tonight I wanted to talk about this card right here, the Tower. So, how many times have you done a tarot reading for yourself and flipped over this card and been like, oh geez, what's going to happen now? And furthermore, how do I deal with it? And the reason why I want to talk about this card is because I've actually been contemplating it a lot lately. I have had several tower moments, I should say, come about in my life recently. And it's been definitely shaping my thought process around this card. And what do we do when we have a moment in life that is the tower? And first, I'm going to kind of go into what brought me here to this. And then I think I'm going to just sort of go through the imagery. I had thought about pulling out other cards, other depictions of the tower card, but that's not really what this video is going to be about, comparing the artwork, although I do love doing those. I haven't done one in quite some time, so if you guys are interested in that, I can certainly do it at some point. Also, I should mention that the person who initially inspired me to do those types of videos is back on YouTube, and I will link her channel down below. Um, but yeah, so essentially, um, last in the last few weeks, I've had several situations in my life that have definitely been tower moments where uh, pretty much it's very sudden, it's very disruptive, it's very jarring, and it's kind of you're kind of left with, oh geez, what do we do next? Where do we go from here? And I think when we get stuck in that moment, when we get the rug swept out from underneath of us, or our foundation is just crumbling, we sometimes don't even think about what do we do next. But in my own personal experiences over the last two and a half weeks, or 2 weeks maximum, about a week and a half, my husband left his position at a 14-year position at his job. And within a week and a half of that, our 6-year-old got diagnosed with COVID-19. So we're in quarantine now, and it's been a thing. Thankfully, he's doing really well, and I'm extremely grateful for this because he has asthma. So I had been kind of thinking this whole time, how is this going to go? And last year we were pretty sure that my husband had it, and at that point in time, testing just wasn't really readily available. It was about a year ago now. And as we all know, March is really kind of when things ramped up with COVID. And then the first week in April in 2020, my husband got extremely sick. Like, I've never seen him that sick. So, to have our asthmatic son be, really doing okay so far with this has been a blessing. I have a kitty fur tickling me as usual. But it's definitely got me really talking about or thinking a lot about this card and those moments in life where suddenly we are just wondering, what the hell do we do now? And, as you can see in the Tower card, there is lightning, there is fire, these people are falling, there's jagged rocks at the bottom. We don't know how this is going to go. And it's just, I can't even begin to tell you, and I know that you all can relate, how many times in life we have felt like this. How many times in life that we've thought, I'm falling. I'm falling. I have no choice in the matter, and this is what's happening. And when I first started reading tarot, the one thing that I always compared the Tower card to was essentially a tornado, and you're standing in the wake of its destruction, just kind of thinking, where do we go from here? And is this a question that we ask ourselves enough, especially in situations like this? And I've started to realize that that question really matters in how you move forward, you process through these moments. And I have to be really careful when I talk about the tower and tower moments in life, because to me, I do think that there is a difference between the sudden upheaval of something occurring in your life versus for say hitting rock bottom and having your descent, is what I've kind of liked to call it after really looking into my dark studies and all of that. I find all that stuff very fascinating, but to me those two are very different things, and both of them do require the same amount of thought and action to them, to the point where you really do have to start to think, what do what do I do? And I think the thing that I've learned with my tower moments is finding the next direction. Yes, I might be falling for those jagged rocks and everything's on fire, but eventually I'm going to hit the ground, and I either hit the ground running or I collide with the earth, and that's it. This cat, or really, like, I'm going to blame probably Medivh, but he's laying on my bed. Um, and I cannot tell you how many times in my life I have just accepted the descent, the fall from whatever it was that I was up upon, and just basically been like, this is it, this is happening. And having that acceptance is really important. It is very important, but it's what you do next that's even more important. And there have been many times where I've had that acceptance and then not moved on. And that does you no good. It just, I should have turned off my monitor. Um, it does you no good, really. Accepting what you're experiencing and keeping yourself grounded in the reality of it is deeply important. But staying stationary in that place of, this is where I am and everything's terrible, is not going to do you any good. The next process is the step forward to, all right, we're falling. We're falling. That's happening. What do we do now? And this is by no means me trying to tell you guys how to deal with your stuff. It's just some things that I've learned in how I've dealt with my stuff, and I really want to continue to discuss this sort of thing on my channel, discussing a lot of how my path has turned more psycho-spiritual, how it has become very ingrained in my mental health, and how shadow work is deeply important to my practice, and the things that I have discovered over the last few, I'd want to say 5 years is when the last 5 years is when I've really kind of gone deeper into myself, my shadows, and exploring these moments in my life where my life felt like this and it was terrible. And what I did then to react, not respond, but react to those situations is so much different than what I do now to respond to those situations. Because I know a lot of the times, especially if you're highly sensitive like me, you're an empath like me, you tend to feel your emotions very deeply. We really get stuck in just reacting, not responding, but reacting to what is happening to us. And it can be so hard to stop and to slow down and to ground and to realize I have my own power here. And this sort of ties into the other half of this video that I really kind of wanted to get into, because it's something that I have spent so many times just disregarding or not giving enough attention to, or completely ignoring the fact that I have a lot of potential in my own power, and you do as well. And as a witch, if you are a witch, geez, this is why editing is so. I say this in every video, and I should just really start doing that. But as a witch, as a practitioner, as a pagan, if you identify as all of those, if you only identify as one, regardless, to me, the point of the spiritual path And the point of why I am here and on it, and why I have been for 2 decades, is my own self empowerment, my own ability to take charge of the things that I can control when things feel like this, when they feel like they are out of control. And sometimes we do tend to gravitate towards what we can control in unhealthy ways. And that's where you have to understand your coping mechanisms, and are they healthy? Are they not? Having that self awareness and that mindfulness of what is healthy and what's not for your coping mechanisms is deeply important. But kind of drawing back to finding your own power, the one thing that I really tend to underestimate is my own power, is my own resilience and my own ability to be who I am at my core and who I truly need to be in my own authentic self. And being a pagan, being a witch, those are my archetypes of power within myself. And it's something that I've always gravitated towards as a as something to give me power, but I completely underestimate it, and I actually even sometimes ignore that it's a possibility. Like, oh, I'm going through a tough time. Usually magic is like the last thing I think of to go to, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially because I came to this path really at a pivotal point in understanding that I had depression and understanding how to deal with it. And again, to reiterate, what drew me to it was being able to have the ability to really claim my own power. And I've spent years sort of sabotaging that in a way, or stifling it in a way. So don't forget, in moments like your tower moments, that you can go to the altar, that you can ask the gods. You can speak to the gods. If you don't have personified deity that you can work with, speak to whichever you like. And in some ways, either it is, in my case, it is either deity, or it is my ancestors or my beloved dead. Um, but those are really like the big personifications and energies that I work with in my practice. This can be however you wish it to be, however it works for you. But the truth of the matter is, don't underestimate that when you feel like this, when things like this are going on in your life, to work your magic, to go to the altar, to even just sit and cry at the altar if you need to. Never forget the power that the elements have, working with each element to help with your emotions. I mean, earth, air, fire, and water are all identified with certain types of emotions. And it's like, for example, fire can be identified with passion, and earth can be identified with having more stability, or water can be identified with really kind of having more sadness, or even opening up your intuition. These are all things that you can utilize when you're having moments like this. And honestly, this video is partially for myself and partially for you guys to remember that when things like this happen, that we do have the power to change things. And the other reason why I'm making this video is because I live in Minnesota and I have watched what has gone on over the last year. And recently we have reached a verdict with the George Floyd murder. And, we do have the power to stand up for those who need us to stand beside them and say, no more, this is wrong. And I'm one of those people. I want to stand beside those who need us to stand beside them. And we as witches can also do that. There are many ways to utilize that outside of helping our community, our, POC community. But really, the point of this video is kind of outside of the mundane spectrum and more into the magical spectrum. I um I don't really want to get into, you know, the other words. But I did want to make a point to stand in reverence for that as well, and that matters, because Black Lives Matter. And this whole situation, has felt like another tower moment where really things have been upheaved and there's just a lot of energy going on. And there has been a lot of energy going on this whole last year. And I know that we've all felt it. We've all felt it in big ways, we've all felt it in subtle ways, and it's not something that we can ignore. And I've ignored a decent amount of things that I shouldn't be ignoring. So that's one of the other reasons why I'm making this video. I know it's kind of all over the place, but I'm hoping that the main point is really kind of there in the sense of when we have a tower moment, what do? We take our power back. Yeah, we fall. And as I said, you either hit the ground running or you collide with the earth at like some horrible asteroid and just dig your crater in the ground and you never come out. I mean, either we learn from this or we don't. And either we try to make a difference, be it in our own personal lives or the lives around us or the lives of our community, or we don't. But to me personally, I would rather make that difference internally, externally, in my environment. Of course, I can't right now, at least in that case, because I'm under quarantine. But yeah. So I hope this video, I always say this at the end of my videos, but really, like, I hope my head noise about all of this made sense. And it's just been something I've really been mulling over the last few days. And I kind of just wanted to bring some content about it to you all. And that's all I got for you. As always, thank you for watching and blessed be.